Hey everyone, it is Stacy Donemke with another edition of Dietitian Career Success. I'm so delighted that you are here today. I want to remind you that if you are in need of a dietitian job, do check out dietitiansalaries.com and also NutritionJobs.com for all the information you need about salaries and jobs. I am super excited today about our guest that we have, my dietitian friend, Whitney Bateson. Hi, Whitney.
Hi, Stacy. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
I'm excited for you to be able to share with us, our audience today, about what you do, but a little bit of a background, you guys. Whitney and I have been dietitian friends for several years. We actually were Fancy or the
Like
nutrition
booth
conference
neighbors.
booth mates like several
Yeah.
years ago, which was really fun. We got to meet in
Yeah.
person. I don't know about you guys, but I often have a lot of dietitian friends who are friends via social media. So we don't actually ever meet in real life. But
Yeah.
Whitney and I did meet in real life, which is sort of extraordinary. Whitney, maybe you can tell us a little bit about your background. You have a unique job, and I'm super
Yeah.
excited for you to share about that. But maybe tell us a little bit about where you are currently living right now.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm in Brazil. I'm in Florianopolis, Brazil. And when we did Fancy, I had flown in. I think it was from Colombia. I can't even remember, but yeah, I travel full time. I ended up leaving my corporate job in 2018, and then that same year, and starting my business, and then that same year also learning about a travel program that just kind of supported you logistically traveling around the world while you worked. And so I've been doing that since 2018, and now with my husband, and yeah, it's exciting. But yeah,
It's
it doesn't get me back to the States very often. So no
Well,
fancy for
that's
me
true.
this year.
That is true. Yeah. So I'm very thankful that we got to meet back in a couple years ago at Fancy.
Yeah.
So what's interesting is Whitney and I are working on a project together. We've been working on it for several months, and Whitney and I always dial in. I'm always sitting at the same chair. Whitney is dialing in from Amsterdam, from Portugal, from
Yeah.
Brazil,
Yeah.
one time from Connecticut, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
It's true.
you have had this really fun, extraordinary adventure that I love to hear where you're at, all the
Yeah.
adventures that you're having, and how you can run this business that you have. And so I know what you do. I know the work that you do as a nutrition entrepreneur, as a dietitian, but I thought, oh gosh, you know what? I think everybody else could certainly benefit from learning what it is that Whitney does. So, Whitney, can you explain how a little bit about your career path? You started out as a traditional dietitian and have built your way into working as a nutrition entrepreneur. Can you share a little bit about your career path for us?
Yeah, yeah, it's been varied. So I started off in school nutrition. I was working in DC public schools as the dietitian there, and then I got promoted in my role and worked nationally at a food service management company, and just continued to work in school nutrition and really loved that work, but also realized that I loved that work because I got to put on my marketing hat, my technology hat, my design hat, and found through the years that actually that's where my passion was. And then also at the same time, as I was working in that company, feeling sometimes a little repressed because as the nutrition department, we were not getting the marketing budget, the marketing support. And I knew that in order to have kids listening to us, so that I was trying to teach kids at DC public schools, we were teaching them how to use like a salad bar and like use the tongs, don't use your hands. But we had 120 schools that we had to try and reach. And so another dietitian and I, we started filming videos and doing these programs and designing things. So basically I knew that in order for anyone to listen to us, we still needed to employ good marketing, communication, design practices, leverage technology to reach more people. But we weren't really, as dietitians, getting that support. And I felt like people just didn't really understood what we did. And so if we had asked designers sometimes to do things for us, they would put like iceberg lettuce in the picture and like stuff like that. And so I then decided to officially pivot and start supporting dietitians and supporting nutrition and health entrepreneurs with their businesses and their marketing and their communications. So now I create websites and really marketing systems for other entrepreneurs who are wanting to reach customers, want to do brand work, want to be consultants and writers, and the full spectrum of jobs that you can have in this field. And roles that you create for yourself. But the same thing always applies. You need to be showing up and communicating your value to people. And that's not something that comes naturally to most dietitians. And so that's where I try and fill that gap.
I think that's how you and I gelled a long time ago, is because we both came from a traditional background in nutrition as a dietitian, and then found the value of communicating that information on a bigger scale, getting more people and really reaching more people through different systems. And with technology, like
Yes.
like I started with the dial up, but I think both you and I can see the value of how dietitians can really tap into websites and into being able to communicate on a much bigger scale. So I would love for you to share about your current business as a nutrition entrepreneur. So with your the Wellness Pro website system, I think that it's a genius service that Whitney provides. I've known about it, like I said before, I've known about it, and I just really wanted to share it with my audience so that you guys know as well. Um, it's an amazing service. So maybe you can share a little bit about what it is that the Wellness Pro website system is.
Yeah, thank you. So I started my business doing custom websites for dietitians, and we did that, my team and I, for many years, like three and a half, 4 years. And it was fine and it was good, but you can only do so many websites. It's a lot of work and it's starting from scratch. The price point is higher. And what I was finding is that I really wanted to help more dietitians get their websites launched. And I saw some frameworks and kind of ways to approach writing copy for your clients, how to structure a homepage to sell nutrition services. I saw some patterns emerging that I thought, well, we can create some layouts that can be still customizable for every kind of business, but we don't need to build them from scratch. They're tried and true. We still give lots of flexibility, but then I can teach you how to write great copy, because in all of these projects, I really didn't have time to write the copy and all of that. So I started to try and find this way to kind of make this like leveraged system that allowed dietitians to get their websites launched a lot faster. Also had a lot of things built in that a typical web design project kind of skims over, like having email list building built into it and making sure that they had a great lead magnet to make people want to join their email list. And what are you doing with blogging and SEO, and what is your sales process? So all of these things that really need to be part of a website that is working as a marketing and sales system, but that just, yeah, a typical designer isn't going to cover necessarily. And so I was able to package that into a program that is the Wellness Pro website system. And what's cool about it is that you, as the dietitian, still do not have to be a tech person at all. So I love systems. Like, I really love automation and figuring out systems and mapping them out. And so I built a system. I mean, it is the Wellness Pro website system. Your website is a system, but I have a system behind the scenes. So all you have to do once you enroll in the program is tell us what your domain name is. And if you don't have one, we teach you. So it's lessons and all of that, but you give us your domain name, you give us what your brand colors are, which also I have tools and resources and templates to give you if you don't have a brand yet. And then we install the site for you. And then all you're doing is putting in your content. If there's pages you want, different pages, you can, swap things around and all of that. But we're just kind of like handing your WordPress website to you on a silver platter, as opposed to I've seen, we all know that there's like templates and tutorials out there of like, oh, start your WordPress website and download this page builder and do this, but it's actually still quite a lot of work. And I mean, even the checklist that my team goes through to install the website is a multi-point checklist that we have worked on over time. But there's no need for a dietitian to have to figure out how to connect a domain to a hosting provider and install plugins and run updates and all of that. So it combines the best of everything, where you still get this really great, customizable, beautiful, proven website design that you know how to edit and customize yourself, and you know how to write the really great copy. And then it has these systems built in. And and I get to provide more coaching and hands-on support throughout the process too, which I really enjoy. I love working on strategy with people. So we have modules about, what are your services? What is your sales process? What pages on your site are going to best support a customer journey that sends people to different places? I mean, I know we're multi-passionate often too. So, maybe we want to have a few services, maybe we want to offer a few different things to a few different types of people. We want to do writing, we want to do counseling, maybe we want to have a product or a course. How does all of that come together on the website without it feeling jumbled or confusing? And so that's the kind of stuff that I can also help people with within the program that just, usually if you're hiring a web designer, they're like, okay, tell me what pages you want, tell me what copy it is, give me your brand photos, and they're not going to guide you and coach you.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
I think you hit on something really important there, that as a dietitian working in private practice or working as just a nutrition entrepreneur, having some sort of nutrition business, that you are an entrepreneur, that you are sort of in charge of doing a lot of different things. And it's easy to get bogged down by the details of running a business, including launching a website. So I think what you're talking about is sort of website in a box, but
Yeah.
made by a dietitian who can understand all of your words, your nomenclature specific to
Mm-hmm.
your service, understand what needs to get there so that people are coming to your website. I think that is really, really key. And that you don't have to, as another dietitian, you don't have to do this all by yourself. You can have somebody
Right.
who just specializes in this and can take care of the whole website for you. So then, speaking about websites, you and I both are huge proponents of websites. We both believe that it's a great idea to have a website to build your nutrition business, for longevity of your nutrition business, and maybe and I'll back up. Actually, a funny thing on just after this morning dropping my kids off at school, I live in San Francisco, so I see a lot of tech billboards all over
Mm-hmm.
the place. They're all kinds of brand new startups that you guys have never heard of, and some big ones that you have heard of. A truck went by me that was just a big ad, and it said, "Are you still doing business on IG?" Oh, that's adorable. And it was an ad for a company that was setting up whether it was websites or it was an AI
Mm-hmm.
model, I think it was. But I was laughing, was like, that's really funny and really timely. Whitney, tell us a little bit about maybe some high level reasons
Yeah.
why a dietitian or a wellness pro would even need to have a website in the first place.
Mm-hmm. Well, a big thing is, I don't know about you, but when I am pulling out my credit card to finally hire a service provider, I I want to go to their website. I want to look around. I just need to know. I need to see just a bit more. I have never given a couple hundred or $1,000 in my memory to someone that I just was DMing with on Instagram. Or I mean, that just kind of like freaks me out, to think about. You're just having this conversation, but you're not getting this full picture. And that's the problem with these channels and these platforms. Like, yes, Instagram can be great for finding people and visibility and forming some connection, but it's not a clear picture. Whereas a website, you can put all of the information that someone needs. So they need to see that social proof. You can have testimonials. They want to know that you can help them. So you can actually have copy that's written that is speaking to what their pain points are. And they're not having to scroll through a bunch of posts on Instagram. They can read it in a logical, streamlined way. And so there's just so many things that a website does. It builds trust. It gives that full picture. It shows people all the different ways that you can help them, and it makes it easy for them to move forward. It's just a lot less stressful than having to kind of figure it out on social media. But some people are not even on Instagram. Maybe they are using like Health Profs or some kind of directory, or they have their LinkedIn profile and they have that information there. But all of those platforms, they're giving information. They are definitely like giving information, but it's still kind of just like a wall of information. And it's also, your brand can't come across as much because you're in the LinkedIn, interface, or you're in the Health Profs interface. In order to build that trust and get people to really feel like, oh, this person is the right person, there's a lot more behind the scenes that they need to see and uncover. And that's where your website is like that next layer down that people can go to. And then also, talk about all these other platforms that you might be building your online presence on. If they go away or they change their algorithm, or suddenly they get flooded with a bunch of new providers, and suddenly, you were getting 5 leads a week and now it's barely one because a lot of new people came onto the platform, and you can't control that. And when you don't have control over how your business is getting seen and who's coming into it and finding it, it can just be a roller coaster for your business, and just really challenging to kind of have that stability. So that, I mean, especially too, like if you want to be investing in your business or you want to be hiring someone, eventually you want to have that income that's kind of a little bit consistent to know, okay, if I bring in a VA, I want to commit to giving them this many hours a month. If your income is just up and down, it's going to be more challenging. So it just allows you to have more control, and you're building your email list from there. I mean, you're sending people to your email list from lots of different places, but your website, you can be found in Google. People can find your blog post, and then they can find your lead magnet and join your email list. And then you can start nurturing that audience, which is truly your own audience, is your email list. You own that. You don't own your Instagram followers or your Facebook page, followers or anything like that. And then you just start sending people. I mean, when you're talking to people on your email, if you want to share one of your services, you're going to send them to that page. Why would
Right.
you
You're
want to send them to like an Instagram post?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So those are just some of the reasons.
Yeah. No, I think that's really, really helpful. And then I'm going to touch back on something you said just previously. You mentioned WordPress, and then you also mentioned being able to come up in search results in Google. And I think this is an important thing to make a point of, and that is you want to be found by a bunch of different ways. You want your services to be showing up in search results over on social media, of course. But the main place where most people are still searching, even in the advent of ChatGPT or AI in general, the main way that people are being found is still Google and Bing searches. So maybe you can, I know there are other platforms out there. There's Wix, there's Squarespace, there's other platforms that are available and sort of make it easy to create a website. But I think like the gold standard still is a WordPress site where you can add plugins that help with search results. These are all things somebody could do, but I think, again, I'm just going to go back to the beauty of, and this is not a commercial, but it was sort of pitching what it is to have a website in a box sort of prepared for you. It's the WordPress platform. Maybe you probably are much better at explaining the difference between WordPress and others. Maybe you can give us some insight on that.
Yeah, and that's been the question that people have had before is, is WordPress better than Wix, or why is it better? And yeah, I think totally the fact that you can add more features to WordPress. So WordPress.org versus WordPress.com. So we're talking about WordPress.org. That is a self-hosted website platform, which means in a nutshell, you get to decide where you put that code, and it's open source. So you can just add whatever you want. I mean, there's lots of technical terms that I'm throwing in here, but like just to kind of simplify it, it can be infinitely expanded to all sorts of things. You get to decide everything. Whereas Squarespace, you're playing in their sandbox. I'll just use them as an example, but Showit, Wix, yeah, a lot of those other platforms are in that kind of same realm. And they're self-contained software. So they're hosting it, they're giving you access to the software, and they're saying within these guardrails, these are the features that you have access to. You can pay us more, maybe we'll give you more features. But then eventually they're going to say, no, that feature doesn't exist and it's never going to exist. And So it can hold you back. There's a lot of cool things that you can do on WordPress. And also then when it comes to SEO, there are more things that you can control on WordPress with the plugins that you add, or just the fact that it is just a system that you can control versus Squarespace and Wix. And we've seen when we've moved our clients' websites over from Wix and Squarespace over into WordPress, that now they were generating traffic and they were working to generate traffic to those sites. Once it went onto WordPress, the traffic went up. Yeah.
Yeah.
So just in our own personal experience, we've seen the benefits. And so I think too, it's one of those things is if you're deciding to start your business and starting your website, the longer that you stay on some of those other platforms, the harder it's going to be to eventually move. Now, in our program, we know that there's a lot of people that are already on another platform. They've been blogging maybe on Wix or Squarespace and Weebly, and we have an add-on that will migrate people's content over to WordPress. And if you have a lot of blog posts, then it's going to take us a little bit longer and cost a little bit more. We can still do it, but that's why I'm saying, like, it's just, if you're going to invest in your business, then I would invest on a platform that will always support you. And that way you don't have to kind of go through the pain of moving at some point. And the longer that you stay, the harder it is. But yeah, what we do for our clients is, so we set up the site for you so you don't have to learn any of those technical details. And then we continue to maintain and host and support the site for you as well. And that is also a help because WordPress, because it's this flexible system, you're the one who has to keep the software up to date and all of the things running and make sure that there's backup somewhere and all of that, and the security. Whereas Squarespace, you're paying them a monthly fee, and part of that includes them, doing all that stuff for you. But it's because they've controlled that system so much, it takes them very little time and effort to maintain that, because they're not letting you do very much.
Right.
So that's why the cost is so low, because it's like pennies for them. Whereas a WordPress site, you are paying for more of that flexibility. But we charge very reasonable price for just monthly ongoing support. And that way you never have to deal with the challenges of WordPress. Like, there are horror stories out there of people, trying to build something and they just couldn't get it to work, or their site got hacked, or, they got the white screen of death. There's like different things that can happen. And when you're just doing it all yourself, it can be very nerve-wracking. But I have a physical person on my team, my developer, Ian, who's wonderful. He is there monitoring the sites every day,
All the time.
answering questions, and so when you have someone supporting you too, then that's a lot better. And that way you get those benefits of WordPress without the challenges. Yeah.
I think that's super helpful. And it just always gives me like peace of mind that somebody who knows our field we have you in our pocket. You can help us with our nutrition businesses. And so speaking of nutrition businesses, I think maybe a lot of listeners might be thinking, oh, this is perfect for my private practice. Other listeners might be thinking, well, I have a different type of business. I don't have a traditional private practice. Maybe you can share with us some ideas about how dietitians who maybe aren't in private practice, or who have a different vision and service that they provide as a private practice, get maybe some ideas about who would have a website as a dietitian.
I mean, personally, everyone should have a website, because your online presence is for you to claim. And so no matter what you're trying to do, I would even say, if you have a job right now and are considering going out on your own in the future, but have an idea for what you want to be doing, I would say start establishing your presence now. I know I felt like I waited too long. I stayed in my job, and then by the time I was ready to leave, I hadn't done really any groundwork to establish myself. And so I think the sooner that you can be establishing your presence, the better. And yeah, it can be obviously for counseling and private practice. You want to be a speaker, you want to be an author, you want to be a media dietitian, you want to do brand work, you want to be a writer, you either want to publish articles and do affiliate links, maybe you want to be a blogger. Of course, you would need a website for that, but also if you want to provide health writing services, if you want to sell courses, you want to sell digital products like downloads and guides and meal plans, you want to run group programs, you want to have your own group practice and have multiple practitioners, you would want a website for that. Consultants also, for sure, if they're consulting, to large ag or large food companies or to hospital systems, any of those places, if you are, so it's not just B2C, business to consumer, that needs a website. B2B, business to business, where you are serving other businesses, is also going to be immensely helpful. Now, your website strategy and what you put on it and the kind of copy that you put is going to be slightly different. And that's something that I help my clients kind of navigate and figure out. But yeah, I mean, there's just, because people need to be seeing what you're doing. They need to know that you understand. And the best way to show that you understand is to use words that explain that and let people know that I'm in your head. I know what you're thinking. I know what you need. And the best way to have them read that and actually connect with that is a website. So
I love that. Thank you, Whitney. That like really that makes me excited. It makes me want to like start another little side hustle. And because I think all dietitians have so many different talents, either getting their nutrition information out there or helping other dietitians get that information out there. Like there's always so much to
yeah.
do. There's collaborations you can have. I give a lot of presentations around the country just from having a website that says these are some of the features. This is how I can help you. So I think
Mm-hmm.
that there's just a lot of different ways that you can offer your services to the public or to another business or to another dietitian. So
Yeah.
speaking
Yeah.
of that, then I'm a huge fan of the work that you do and just working with you as a dietitian. So maybe sort of pivoting a little bit, can you tell us a little bit about your skill sets, maybe some skill sets that have really made you a successful entrepreneur, skills that you were born with, and maybe some skills that you have learned along the way. I always love hearing people's skill
Mm-hmm.
sets.
Yeah. Like I said, I think I'm a systems thinker. I like to kind of come up with what are all the pieces of this thing and how do they work together. I mean, that's what made me love websites, but also made me love even just the work that I did in school nutrition. I think also just very practically working in the corporate environment for as long as I did, I learned to be organized, to be professional, to be assertive, to show up prepared for meetings. So even though I might be meeting with a client who's just my client, and they're not my boss, I still have an agenda. I still have notes that I prepared in advance. And so I think that bringing that level of professionalism to every interaction that we have as entrepreneurs, even if it feels like, well, I'm just talking to this person, I want them to feel comfortable. And so I'm just going to show up casually and we'll just see how it goes and where it goes. I think you're doing yourself a disservice by not actually bringing that professionalism. You can still be kind and courteous and make people feel comfortable, but being organized and all of that, I think is really great. And skills that I've learned and developed over time as an entrepreneur, definitely being comfortable with sales and handling no's, handling objections. We get more no's and rejections than yeses in business. And that's something that's just grown over time, though. I think also there's just this, you need to just not give up, which, entrepreneurship is a roller coaster. And I, I think though, I mean, even when I was working in school nutrition, there were some real tough times early on in my career, especially, and then really honestly throughout it, there were challenges. And so I think just that resilience and ability to keep going and also seek out the support that you need in order to keep going. One of the best things that I did when I started my business is I hired a coach right away, a business coach, and I worked with her. And I basically I don't work with her anymore, but I have worked with a coach for I'm in a mastermind right now and getting coaching on more like sales strategy and ads and marketing. And I think it's just really important to have someone who's just a few steps ahead of you or a lot of steps ahead of you, just guiding you along, pushing you. It's the same as like I work out harder when I have a coach at the gym. And I think those are things where sometimes also, when you're starting or even when the money isn't quite coming in your business, you can feel this feeling of like, I need to scale back. I need to cut back on these people that I'm paying for coaching and advice. And I just think that it's painful, but I think that's the wrong mentality to have. I think it's really important to have people coaching us and guiding us, because it's just going to take you so much longer to figure it out. And we're not born with these skills of like knowing marketing or knowing sales. I didn't know any of this stuff. I
Yeah,
learned
it's
it.
definitely a learned skill. Ooh, Whitney, that was
Yeah.
so good. I don't think anyone's ever said something about professionalism and also creating systems. So that is really helpful. I think all of us can sort of feel that and understand the value of that. And that's super, super helpful for thinking about our own careers, thinking about how we can make a better impression and really showcase our value and our services to others. I think that is really fantastic information. So you talked about sales, you talked about marketing. You're right. We all need to learn that because we don't even learn it as dietitians
No.
in our extensive training.
Right.
So then that comes to mind. My very, very favorite question I love to ask all dietitians is, as a profession, we're always trying to think of ways that we can make more money as dietitians. What are some of
Yeah.
your thoughts on how dietitians can make more money?
So I had thought about this question and a few things that I'll just rattle off because I know I've been talking a lot too. So I would say by using tools that enable you to market and sell your services and expertise without burning yourself out. That's the key,
Mm-hmm.
because you do need to market yourself. You do need to be selling, but if you are not relying on systems and tools, so like having a website that's set up correctly, having an email list that you're sending out, having a funnel and process that you take people through to become from a stranger to a lead, a member of your audience, to someone who's actually getting on a call with you, to becoming a client and maybe a repeat client or a referral partner or a referral client. Have systems supporting you so that you can really maximize your time and your expertise. Don't try and do it all yourself. Um, and I think also, if you want to be seen as valuable and have people regarding you and your services valuable, then you need to really communicate that value. And I think the confidence can be tough for us. Imposter syndrome can be tough. Also, just feeling like, um, well, again, you're not getting help to kind of learn how to step out of your comfort zone and maybe speak more confidently about what it is you do. And that's where having a coach that's helping you kind of pull out those things like, well, you're helping people do this. That's actually really important. You've been doing this for 10 years, actually. You need to put that on your website. You need to do that. No one is going to know it unless you say it. And I'm sure that you have coached people on this, like in your resume, and that whole adage that women will apply for the job when they are 90% qualified, men when they're like 30% qualified or something. I'm butchering
Exactly.
the stats, but
Very similar. Yes, that is totally it.
yeah. So I think that's a big one. And another one is, so you're a business owner. You do need to have a great brand. You need to have strong messaging, meaning how you communicate with your audience and having a perspective and a position. You need to have some marketing systems running, not anything like super crazy, like
Mm-hmm.
email
Mm-hmm.
list. Great. And you need to create a really great sales experience for your customers. Again, this does not mean that you need to spend years figuring that out, but kind of goes back to the professionalism piece a little bit, is when you are guiding people in to work with you and you are showing up in such a professional, like wonderful, well thought out way, then people are going to feel that the experience that's going to be working with you is going to be premium and professional and well worth the value. So if you want to make more money, you need to elevate all of those pieces. And it doesn't take a lot of time, but I think sometimes business owners, almost it's that all or nothing of like, well, I can't spend $5,000 on a branding package, so I'm just going to not even do it at all. and, and then it does convey, just not a level of expertise and value that you really could be, because you can be charging prices that are really great prices for your consulting, for your packages, because you're probably doing great work, but you need to kind of walk the talk a little bit, and all of that. And if you insist on doing it all yourself and not getting people to kind of help you figure it out, then it's just going to take a lot longer to get really good at it. And frankly, you might quit in the process, because it just, you can only go so long banging your head against a wall and doing stuff that doesn't come naturally to you. And yeah, so I would say, and then like practically speaking too, just finding ways to have more revenue streams, like diversify your revenue streams. Look for some things that are maybe a consulting contract, or whatever you feel your skill sets are, but there can be really great ways to pad your business or get some more of that income coming in the beginning while you're building something else. Your long-term goal is to have a course or a group program, but you need some income coming in. So, do some things that maybe generate income now while you build other things. Because I think another thing is just building leverage systems where you're one to many, or you build the thing once and you sell it many times. Those can be really great, but usually they come from experience and learning your customers more, and what you need in order to meet their needs and explain that valuable thing. So I would say don't come out the gate starting your business trying to like sell a group program or sell a course. You might spend a lot of time building it, and then may not be as easy to sell.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, Whitney, those were amazing. I think what I also am sort of walking away, or my own debrief from that last answer, is that it's hard to get comfortable asking people for money or working with for money. I think sometimes people get a little uncomfortable with that. Not that they don't want to do that, but it just doesn't. It just feels like a little bit of friction in there, and a little scary asking for money. But I think what you were just saying is having these tools, marketing tools, whatever it might be. You are in the business to make money as a dietitian in exchange for a service, right? So in exchange for money, you're offering a service. It's all business. No one's expecting free stuff. Well, they might,
Right.
but there's always
And
those
if they
people.
are, they're not for you.
But there's always going to be those people who are expecting some, lots, the people that stand in line for the free samples at Costco, right? There's always going to be
But don't
free
worry
stuff.
about those
Yeah,
people.
I love free stuff at Fancy. Like I walk away with all. I was like, I didn't need more Post-it notes, but they were free.
Yeah.
So, but I probably would have also paid for them, right? Like, so people really want your services. Everybody, now I'm speaking to the listeners, like people want your services, and it's okay to ask them for money for that. That's business. That's what business is. So, Whitney,
Yeah.
thank you
And the
so
more
much.
you do it, the more comfortable you'll
Yeah,
get.
that's true. That's a really good
Yeah.
point. The more practice you have at it, and just talking
Yeah.
about it, right? Talking about it with other dietitians, or like you said, a
Yeah.
coach, or
Yes.
being in mastermind groups where you're talking about money and it feels okay. It could be
Yes.
with, I don't actually even recommend talking about it with friends, because that just feels a little funny too. So,
Yeah. It
and
depends on the
being,
friend group.
yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I really am appreciative of your words and all your insights, your expertise, and you're super inspiring. Like, again, I'm always thinking, ooh, what other side hustle could I have now with my new website? Like, very,
Yeah.
very exciting for other dietitians as well to learn, and wellness professionals to understand like all the different possibilities, everything that's out there. And so I'm very, very thankful. I know you have an upcoming training. I'm not sure when
Yeah.
you guys are going to be listening to this, but there's a training that you're going to offer. And Whitney will give you I'll put all that information in the show notes so you can see the dates.
Yeah.
There's one on October 7th and one on October 8th. So there's
Yep.
lots of really great information. You'll have some one-on-one connection with her. I think you're giving away some like free, a bunch of bonuses if people show up live. So I'll try to get this out to everybody. Make sure you all hear
Yeah.
this so that you can
Yeah.
show up live.
Yep.
Anything else you want
Yeah.
to add about that, Whitney?
Yeah. So the training is called Have More Clients Saying Yes to Working with You. So it's all about the simple things, 3 simple things on your website that are likely causing you to have people leaving and not saying yes. And so how can you make these simple shifts that are going to lead to more people connecting with you, getting booking calls with you, and ultimately saying yes to working with you? So we all want more clients from our websites, and that is exactly what this training is all about. And yes, if you show up live, I will also be giving away my website clarity workbook.
Mm.
This is really the step people skip. They're kind of like, oh, I just want to dive into, putting stuff together. And it's like, no, get this clarity first. This is what really makes everything else work and work so seamlessly. So I'll be giving that away free. And yeah, we have it at 2 separate times. So if you're listening to this after the fact, still go to the link. It'll send you somewhere. But yeah, I'd love to have you there live if you can. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much, Whitney. I really appreciate this. And for the listeners, do connect with Whitney. You'll see a bunch of links down below. You can find her lots of different locations. I make no money from working with Whitney, so I really want to share what it is that she offers for dietitians. As you know, I'm always trying to find different ways that dietitians can either make more money or they can elevate their career potential and just like really excel as dietitians. So thank you again, Whitney. And I do hope that all of you out there can search for a new job or post your resume profile on nutritionjobs.com and also participate in the dietitiansalaries.com salary survey. So thank you, everybody, and bye for now.